Welcome to my workshop. The title of my workshop is called Desmos, Reinforcing Mathematical Thinking. Now, this workshop is for grade 6 to 12, so let's get started. So welcome. Here is a quick intro activity, so you can take out any device you like. We'll start with a quick Desmos activity. Because this is a presentation, so you can join in at the end or on your own time. Some of the questions that I want you guys to think with each other or in your group of 3 to 4 will be, have you ever used technology in your teaching in a typical math classroom? If you have, think about it, write it down, discuss it with each other. If not, maybe think about things why it was not implemented. And have you heard of Desmos? If yes, what do you know about it? And if not, what do you think Desmos can do in math? Or how can it help you in your teaching practice? So for teachers, let's take a poll. Again, take out your device. Because, again, this is a presentation, you can check this out on your own time or at the end of the session. So the purpose of this workshop is really just to prepare teachers have a better and clear understanding of what Desmos really is. So what and how we can actually use and apply to build on student thinking. So that's the whole purpose of this workshop. The rationale or the reason why I am making a presentation on this is that I'm realizing now that because we're teaching in a 21st century, and especially given the current pandemic, teachers are always finding different ways to sort of gather student thinking, finding different ways to assess and measure, or rather efficient strategy to assess and measure their thinking. So what better way to do that than to look at Desmos or using technology to help us with that. And I noticed here that this is actually more than just teaching through a computer screen. So it's the fact that because we are having this reduced in-class sessions now, because we have this blended learning, using Desmos is also a great way for teachers to sort of collect student evidence and thinking. And I wrote here that with online learning, delivering worksheets and collecting material can be tough for teachers, as mentioned before. So it is actually really important to see firsthand on how students obtain their answers and how we can evaluate or measure their thinking process. And another important point here is that doing so, we're actually making students accountable for their learning. It's not just it's not just a guessing game, right? It's not just about maybe copying from others. It's really about having them being responsible in their own thinking and making learning a priority, especially again with this whole reduced in-person instructions. So definitely having Desmos is a great way to make learning more transparent and hopefully easily accessible for every learners out there. Now, just a little facts here. This is actually the data obtained from my district. So because I work in Surrey District, this is just a general overview for what or how our demographic is going to change, or how many students in different backgrounds or special needs may be coming into our district. Now, because you can see that in the next 10 years, there is an overwhelming amount or increased amount of students coming to our program. Coming to our district. So it is actually really important to, find different ways or finding efficient ways to really teach students and get lessons across. So again, one way to do that is through technology or Desmos, and that can really help teachers build on their lessons and hopefully improve students' learning and thinking skills. Here's just a little background. With any data in technology, I've broken down in context, collaboration, and feedback. So again, just to give you guys a little context, and I have also mentioned that in the previous slide with the increase in the number of students coming into the Surrey District or even in BC in general. It is important to know that educational learning cannot just be replicated completely online. It is also important to keep in mind that for some students, online learning is good, right? Using technology is good, but it is important to know that we cannot just completely rely on Desmos or completely rely on technology. So there should be a bit of both when it comes to in-person instructions. We also have collaborations. So with Desmos activities, students can share ideas. You can ask each other questions. You can challenge each other. You can even have lots of in-class discussions to make learning more fun and interesting. And the third thing, or the third main point with say learning and teaching with technology like Desmos is that feedback. So having that immediate feedback that just, more than just right or wrong is crucial, right? It's not just about right or wrong. So making sure that teachers are mindful of that technology isn't just about here's the answer next, but rather what or how students can learn from their errors, right? So it is very important. And I mentioned here is that this is what we call an iterative feedback or immediate iterative feedback. So again, context, collaboration, and feedback are just some of the three main points with any learning or teaching with technology. In my study here, I found a study from 1987, which I thought was pretty interesting, is that with our feedback, so it should be more task involved rather than ego involved. So meaning that task involved were more about their efforts and more like a constructive feedback rather than simply giving students praises and grades. So if you're interested in reading more about that, you can click on the link hyperlinked here by Ruth Butler. Now to get down to the itty gritty material here, we have the different steps. So 3 different steps to implement Desmos, and this is just a really simplified version. If you're more interested in implementing Desmos in your classroom, I am hosting workshops and parent info night just to give you guys a general idea. But essentially, step 1, we just have to create an account. If you have Google account, it's easy. I believe you can also sign up with your district email account. Step 2 will be to explore existing activities. So you can type down the search bar. Really, it's you can filter your searches, you can refine them quite straightforward. Step 3 will be create or modify activities. So that is by copying and editing these activities and using them as your template. And you can try to publish or create new interactive activities. There are actually many options for these activities that you want to be customized. You can make a polygraph, you can make it into a multiple choice, you can do a card sort, drawing tool, short answers, marble slide media, order list, etc. All these are really actually quite engaging for a lot of students, especially in math classrooms. Just some general idea of what Desmos look like. Here you can see that if you do want to implement Desmos into your classroom, students can connect representations, so equations with drawings. This is great for more visual learners. You can have more cross-curricular lessons like math and art here, which is actually pretty interesting. I know I've done that with my grade 8 and 9 when we talked about lines or linear equations. And then there is also another feature, it's called the what if machine. So you can modify the equation here. For example, you got a polygon and see what the shape will look like if you say add 3 to this existing shape. And here are actually more examples of math and art activities. Now, these are actually contests. I just thought it was kind of cool to put it out there. If you're interested in doing that in your own classroom or your own school, I think this is a great opportunity for students to be creative. As a general guideline, I've also broken Desmos questions into 4 main sections. And again, these four points are actually from, or categories of activities are actually from the Fuller, Rubin, and Herald reading. So number 1 is formulate a long-term goals for a task. So make sure students understand what are we looking for in this problem, whether it be a word problem, or it could be a very quick evaluation or finding what or solving for X. Number 2 will be choose tasks carefully. So make sure that students understand this and make sure the tasks are clear, the questions are clear and reasonable. Number 3 will be emphasize the meaning of the problem and the solution. So what is it that students are trying to get at? And number 4 is allow students to explore their own methods of solving problems. Now this is actually very important. If you want students to take ownership of their learning and not just simply copying and pasting from somewhere like their friends. So making sure that all your Desmos questions, either customized or edited, should provide some type of mathematical insight and ways to encourage answers that may not be correct, and that's okay. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll continue on our understanding of school and district compositions. Thank you. I'll see you soon.